The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Idaho Falls, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34714. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks on the passenger and driver side frame rail. Moving up onto the face of the bumper on the passenger and driver side, you'll find dual air horns. Moving just inside of that location on the passenger side, you'll find your mechanical siren. Directly in the center, you'll find your unit identifier E4. Moving to the right, you'll find your PA speaker and electronic siren. Let's move up onto the top of the bumper extension where you'll find a tub storage location. D-handle gains access. This is where your front bumper load will be located. As we move to the outer edge of the cab, we'll first start with a marker clearance light. Moving just inside of that location, you'll find your headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. The high beam will be on the inside. Moving up, you'll find your turn indicator and emergency lights. As we move further up, you'll find 2 grab handles, one on the passenger and one on the driver's side. Idaho Falls logo across the very front, directly above the Pierce logo. You'll also find 3 windshield wipers across your seamless one-piece windshield. As we move to the outer edge, you'll find a flat and convex mirror. As we move to the brow, you'll find 5 clearance lights across the very top. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. And then on the very top of the roof section is where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a look at some of those close up. First, we'll start with the bumper extension. This is going to be that D handle, which will gain access into the front bumper load. As we gain access into this space, you'll find your swivel discharge inside and dry deck material. Let's take a quick look at the entire side of the vehicle. We'll focus in now on the front section of the cab, starting at the front bumper area. You do have a emergency warning light side facing lower on the front bumper extension. As we move to the front axle, you'll find your sight gauge. Moving up onto the cab itself, you'll find your clearance marker light on the A-pillar. Moving now to the grab handles. These are easily accessible with a gloved hand, and they are also keyed. As we move right next to the handle, you'll find your grab handle to gain access in and out of the cab. Let's move directly over the front axle, where you'll find a D handle gains access into your compartment. As we move further up, you'll find a side-facing scene light. And then as we move to the very rear section of the cab wall on the side, you'll find a water level indicator that is LED. Let's move from this location midship. We'll start first where the hose loads are stored in the crosslay. Let's see, we have a number 1 and number 2 crosslay, foam capable, and then also a 2.5-inch crosslay. Let's move just to the right. We'll start identifying a few items within the pump panel. At the very top, we'll find your master intake gauge in the gray area. As we move to the right, you'll find your master discharge gauge. Between the two of those are going to be your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and are for testing purposes. Let's move all the way down to the left. This is going to be controlled automatically. It is a thermal controlled gauge heater for your panel. And there is a test and on button indicating when it is on. As we move to the right, the red module. This is your Foam Pro system for foam. We do have operating instructions on the actual device placard. As we move to the right, you'll find the foam level indicator for tank A. Moving to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. You'll also find a green indicator when it's okay to engage the throttle. As we move down, you'll find an audible alarm associated with the throttle pressure governor. The outer edge of the bezel does allow you to dampen or brighten the sound. As we move down to the right, you'll find some switches on the right. You're going to find your rear floodlight, the pump compartment heater, also a real rewind, and the evacuation horn, which is red. As we move up to the left, you'll find a warning label here regarding entanglement hazard because of those lines from aloft. And then you'll also find this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment and only after they've received proper training. To the right, minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in a moment.
As we move down, you'll find the front discharge, number 1 and number 2 crosslay. These are all foam capable. As we move up, you'll find the reel blowout. It is a twist, not a pull. And as we move down, the reel discharge, which is also foam capable. Right next to that, you're going to find the 2.5-inch crosslay discharge. And then let's move down in this image where we'll find all of our additional discharges, number 1 driver's side, number 2 passenger, number 3 driver, and number 4 passenger. As we move to the right, you'll find the deluge discharge, and then further to the right, you'll find the driver's side rear discharge. Let's move just to the right. We have 2 additional things I'd like to point out. This is your recirculating line and engine cooler. These are both twist, not pull. As we move to the right, you'll find your tank fill. Further to the right, an additional switch for your light panel. And then as we move further down, you'll find an indicator light. If your pump is properly engaged, it will give an indication OK to pump. As we move down, you'll find a warning label here, pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move to the right, the blue module, this is your water level tank indicator. Moving to the very far right, you'll find a warning label here regarding fall hazard. Always face the vehicle when climbing on it. And as we move down, you'll find your tank to pump, and right next to that, you'll find the fire pump primer, which is an air prime push to prime. For best practices, at least 1,000 RPMs. Let's move from this section all the way down to the very bottom section, left-hand side of the pump panel, where you'll find a pan door. We'll go over that in just a moment. As we move further to the right, you'll find the 2.5-inch discharges on the driver's side of the vehicle. As we move down, you'll find all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. And then to the right, you'll find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female ball valve. Moving to the right, you'll find your Pierce logo American flag eagle. This is your large diameter pump intake. We also have an additional placard here describing the type of pump you have, Watrous. We'll go over that in a moment. And then also to the far right, you'll find your pump drain. And beneath it, you'll find your manual pump shift. Let's go back and take a look at the placards, first starting with the Watrous placard. The type of pump you have is a CSU. It is a 1,500 GPM pump, and it's also going to have this placard, which is your minimum operation maintenance schedule for test pressures at 150, 200, and 250. On the left, the associated GPM, and on the right, the associated RPM at test pressures. Job numbers in the upper left-hand corner. Let's take a quick look at the body of the vehicle. Underneath in front of the front axle is where you're going to find the storage location for your folding wheel chocks. As we move all the way to the very top section, you'll find a hose trough. And then as we move all the way to the rear, you'll find an emergency warning light. Let's go back to that pan door on the pump panel. This is your foam drain. As we move forward from this location at the very bottom section, this is where you're going to find a tubbed hose storage at the bottom of the pump panel. Let's go into the first compartment. In the upper left-hand corner of this compartment is where you're going to find your air compressor, which will maintain vehicle brake pressure when you're parked. This must activate when you are plugged into shore power. Has to have shore power. Same thing to the right, the auto charger must have shore power for operations. It's wired to the shoreline inlet, so you must be plugged in. Let's move downward from this location. We'll cover the next set of things first with the SCBA bottle storage locations with retaining straps. There are 3 bottle storage locations on this side. Directly over the rear axle, emergency warning light. And as we move to the rear of the axle, you'll find your fuel door, where we'll find the silver cap is your ultra low sulfur diesel. Quick image here, a close-up of the bottle storage location. Silver cap, once again, ultra low sulfur diesel. As we move that flap downward, it will expose the blue cap, which is going to be an 8-gallon US DEF tank, which is the blue cap. There's also a cap holder on the door. As we move further to the rear now, this is the rear compartment, adjustable shelving, LED lighting in all of your compartments. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, just underneath, you'll find your perimeter lighting, and then also in the very center, you'll find your clearance lights. As we move up to the outer edges, you'll find your brake lights. First at the top, emergency warning, brake, turn, and reverse lights. There are 3 steps located on the driver's side to gain access to go aloft to the hose bed area. You'll also find that rear 2.5-inch discharge at the very bottom section, and the upper section is going to be a 2.5-inch female ball valve direct tank fill. As we move to the very top, once again, those are those emergency warning lights. And then also you have 2 pole lights at the rear of the apparatus. Let's move just inside in the center area where you'll find your backup camera directly over the compartment door. And as we move to the very far right, you'll find your ladder storage, 24-foot extension, 14-foot roof, and then also 2 locations for long tool storage and also a 10-foot folding attic. General view here of the back of the vehicle. You can see at the very top there are 2 hose bed dividers. Let's go over some safety information. First, fall hazard. Make sure you don't ride on the vehicle when it's in motion, and also pressure hazard. And when you're climbing the vehicle, make sure you face it. As we move to the very far right, once again, you'll find that 2.5-inch discharge. And then moving all the way to the very top, once again, the tank fill 2.5-inch female ball valve. To the right, we've got an additional warning label. Those hoses are coming from aloft. We have the possibility of entanglement, so we have that there. And then also, as we move further to the right, we have your backup camera. Let's take a look at some close-ups of that rear section. This is with the doors open, compartment open. Lower right corner of the bottom of the tray is the release mechanism. It will lock into position. Once again, close up here of your ladder storage area. Let's go up on the very top section. You'll find a walkable surface on the very top, 2 hose bed dividers. Let's move around now to the passenger side of the vehicle. We'll identify a few more items within this area. Same configuration and layout. We have pegboard on the wheel wall, adjustable shelf, and also a pull-out tray release on the lower right-hand side. It's currently in the open position and locked. As we move just over the rear axle, you'll find this compartment does have a tool board. A D handle will gain you access to the back side. When that door is in full open position, or the tool board is, it will lock into position. There is a release mechanism on the inside which will allow you to restore it back to its original position. Let's take a look now into those 2 pan doors. First, SCBA bottle storage, retaining strap, and DuraSurf on the floor. And then as we move to the forward section, 3 additional SCBA bottles, retaining straps. As we move now to the forward compartment, I'd like to point out down at the lower section, just in front of the axle, is where your diesel exhaust is. There's also a warning label here regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen. You'll find 4 steps in the midsection for going aloft in the mid area. You're also going to find your hose load, same configuration, just a through compartment onto this side. And we'll go over some of the items in this area. We do have a double pan door for getting access behind the pump panel. We also have a smaller pan door on the lower left. Also your large diameter pump intake, which is the Pierce American Flag Eagle. 2 2.5-inch discharges on this side. Also cut out and recessed is going to be your cab lift. Their instructions, we'll go over that in just a moment. Down at the lower section, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. It is also a ball valve female. You'll also find all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains down in the lower right-hand corner, and also a tub storage location at the very bottom section. Quick close-up here of the crosslays, which we covered earlier, 2.5-inch, also 2 foam-capable front loads. And then also as we move into the compartments here, we'll find your access door. 2 lift and turns will gain you access. This is going to be your foam drain. And then we also have just access inside to the pump panel area. We do have 2 warning informations here. Once again, a fall and then also pressure hazard. A couple close-ups of the items just down below. We'll move into the next picture, which is going to be your internal relief valve. There's the set screw on the left-hand side for making that adjustment. As we move to the cab, same configuration as you have on the driver's side, but we'll go through some of the compartments here as we move inside the rear section of the cab. As you can see, we have all of our warning and safety information affixed to the door panel. As we move, let's take a look at the rear wall. You'll find 2 SCBA seats located in the center area, and then 2 fold-down seats on the outer area. You do have 2 EMS compartments, adjustable shelving, and LED lighting. There's also a plug in the center, which is going to be accessed via shore power when you're plugged in. As we move to the rear, you'll find also an adjustable shelf inside the compartment directly behind the officer seat. And as we move inside the front section of the cab, we'll identify a few items here. First, starting with those safety and warning information affixed to the door panel. Let's take a look inside at the seat area. Directly under the seat, you'll find an additional storage lift and turn latch will gain you access, and it does drop in the downward position. Let's take a look at the front dash on the officer side. You'll find on the A-pillar is the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. We also have an air horn and mechanical siren foot pedal. As we move to the left, we have 3 barrel-style power outlets. And then as we move overhead, you'll find push on and off white or red lenses. As we move forward, you'll find your Firecom wireless base station. You also will find these candy cane labels up at the top indicating that you have wire behind the panel. You'll also find your Firecom control module. As we move around now to the driver's space, in the stepwell, you'll find your air inlet and outlet. And then further to the right, you'll find an auto eject plug, which is the yellow plug. As we move up, safety information on the door panel, and then just below the seat, you'll find your, when plugged into shore power, it will illuminate indicating your battery position. Let's take a look down at the inlet outlet and also an air shutoff. And then as we move to the right, we have the yellow 20 amp auto eject, and then also an auto charge indicator. When plugged into shore power, this will become active. About the right ankle of the operators where you'll find this placard. Manufactured for City of Idaho Falls. It has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, all of your fluid capacities for the component, fluid capacities, and fluid types. As we move to the floorboard, you'll also find a foot pedal, treadle, and also accelerator. As we move to a left knee of the operator, you'll find your master battery switch and also the engine transmission ABS J1939 diagnostic port. And then we have a few switches: ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit. Let's move now up to the dash area. You'll find on the left-hand side the start and ignition switch. As we move inside toward the steering column, you'll find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. It engages and disengages all emergency warning lights. As we move inside of that location, you'll find your headlight switch and also a switch labeled panel, which will brighten or dim lights within the panel area. On the left, we have your transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temp. On the right, we have front and rear air, fuel, and volts. In the center, we have an RPMs tachometer and also a speedometer. Diagnostic information displays above and also below the speedometers. Let's move down to the lower right of the column where you'll find your OK to engage the high idle indicator and also switch. Moving further to the right in the driver space, we're going to find your backup camera monitor. Just beneath that, you'll find 2 12-volt barrel-style access ports. Just to the right, you'll find your windshield wiper control, push for fluid on the front windshield. We also have some switches, which I've got an exploded version of that here, and we'll talk about that next. And then also your yellow diamond, which is your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. As we move further to the right, you'll find your digital readout for your Allison transmission pad with an indication to pump in drive. Also to the right, climate control for heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Let's move back to those switches. Starting on the left, you'll find your engine brake on and off switch, a setting switch for that engine brake, which is either low, medium, or high, a switch selector between air horn and electric horn, mirror heat, load manager, and a red siren brake, which is for your mechanical siren. As we move down, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions here to go from road to pump, and then also instructions to go from pump to road. Just remember you need 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump, when exiting the cab for pump operations. You'll also find mirror control on the far right. As we look over the operator's head, you'll find this yellow placard. The height of the vehicle, 9 feet 4.75 inches, length 32 feet 6.5 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating 45,000 pounds. If you make any adjustments to your vehicle that may alter this, please update this placard. As we move to the right, some switches: emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower and upper rear warnings. Moving further to the right, you'll find your Opticom, high beam flash, front flood, driver's flood, and passenger's flood. When these lights have been activated, you'll see the light illuminate with inside the switch, indicating that it's on. As we move to the right, you'll find seatbelt information: red indicating that someone is in the seat and not belted, green that they are in the seat and belted. As we move directly in the center, you'll find this light. If illuminating, it's indicating do not move your apparatus. You have a compartment or door ajar. Let's move back outside now. to the location directly behind the driver's seat, which is your compartment, adjustable shelf, roll-up door inside, and also LED lighting. As we move inside the cab, let's take a look at the door panel. Once again, safety and warning information, grab handle, window control, and also door lock, and then also a red grab handle at the hinge point to gain access in and out of the cab. We also have 2 box lights located with mounts, and also they will charge while the operation of the vehicle. As we move inside those EMS compartments, you'll find shoreline power access outlets. As we move to the right behind the driver's seat, you'll find map book storage location. Directly behind the engine cowling is where you'll find your daily checks for oil and transmission. As we look to the rear seat, you'll find 2 center-mounted seats and then also 1 fold-down seat on the passenger side. As we move to the cab, this is a non-walking surface up here. That's why we have these warning labels here for your safety. Let's take a look now at the midsection, at the rear of the apparatus, and also the hose storage location. You can see the diamond-plated yellow reflective indicating the walking surface area and edge. As we move to the dunnage, you'll find your master stream device. Moving just to the right in the image, you'll find your booster line. There is a reel rewind for manual, and then also a spool tension knob on the far right. As we move inside, you'll find the blue UPF. This is your main water tank top fill location. As we look to the green, you'll find your foam tank A. There is a warning label here regarding do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. Congratulations, Idaho Falls, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34714. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.